The Thief with a Thousand Faces is back for part 3 of the Netflix crime series Lupin. Omar Sy reprises his role, and this season delves into the past so that Diop can save his family's future. Are you going to be watching this French mystery? Now in hiding, Assane must learn to live far from his wife and son. But with the suffering they endure because of him, Assane can't stand it any longer and decides to return to Paris to make them a crazy proposal. Leave France and start a new life elsewhere. But the ghosts of the past are never far away, and an unexpected return will turn his plans upside down. So if you're familiar with this series, you sort of know what to expect. Master Thief Assane Diop will create convoluted schemes to get to his target while crafting all sorts of twists and misdirections that will lead him to escape scot-free. We get more of that in part 3, but there are several capers that take form in this story, creating some very gripping sequences and amping up the emotional investment. Now, all throughout the show, we've seen portions of Assane's past, when his father was wrongfully convicted of theft and then murdered in prison, to his having to fend for himself outside of the school environment. Now, luckily, he also made some amazing friends while in school, like Ben and his now ex-wife Claire. For this season, we're taken back time and again, showing events play out chronologically so that they inform what's taking place in Assane's present. Now, I appreciate this type of storytelling for this show because it adds a lot of the background as the show moves along, rather than stopping down to give us an episode or maybe even more of just pure flashback. This kept me rooted in the story so that all of the elements were consistently at the top of mind. And I really enjoyed the uncertainty that the narrative creates. Because we watch so many twists and turns within Assane's plan, we can never be absolutely sure that what we saw was actually what happened. At least until the curtain is pulled back on a heist or a scheme, and the nuances of every action and setup are detailed out. Now, I like how clever so many of the situations are, and they typically add a lot of excitement to the storytelling. But something this does run the risk of running into is a form of predictability through repetition. While I may not be able to figure out what the twist is, I know that in every caper there is a twist. Now, I'd love for the story to throw in some elements that play out exactly as we see, continuing that guessing game of what is trick and what is actual. Because we don't get that, my excitement did begin to wane just a bit as the episodes went along. And that's not because they weren't unique and smart, it's just my brain knew that another scenario was going to be convoluted rather than straightforward. And then the surprise wouldn't actually be terribly surprising, at least in the fact that one was happening. While the entire show up until this point has circled around family, this season dives even deeper into the theme by creating some chaos for Claire and Raoul. And because of what transpired in Season 2, Diop creates a threat by being anywhere near his loved ones, meaning he has to either disappear or figure out a way to end the chase. And I like that the theme of family extends much farther than just his ex-wife and son, but includes his best friend, and then it could also be argued that it even incorporates a detective who's been on his heels from the start. There's a mutual respect between those two, but still, the game of cat and mouse is going on. And because Diop is a gentleman thief, he's not going to willingly put people that he cares about in inescapable harm. Now, that could run the risk of lessening story tension because it threatens to remove the idea of character peril, but thankfully, the show still does allow for some drama and unfortunate events, so not everyone escapes happy or safe. Now, something else that I appreciate that is a bit new in this season is the number of projects Diop takes on. The whole thing starts off with the pursuit of an item that he no longer has, and then gets way more complicated thanks to the interference of unforeseen players. There's decent mystery surrounding this area, and I didn't guess the reveal until just before it was shown to us. But with the heists, these pile on like we're reading If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. One project turns into another, which then turns into another, each becoming more daring and difficult, and requiring a ton of cunning. There's also excitement that's built into many of these, whether that be with action sequences like car chases or rooftop pursuits, but also quieter and more stressful situations that aren't packed with action, but they convey anxiety thanks to Omar Sy's acting. Now, this season, unlike the first two, is 7 episodes long, giving us one more segment to spend with Diop. Now, I really thought that this was going to be the end of the show. Everything was building towards a very satisfying conclusion. And there are consequences and ramifications to the actions that we see play out, but it still felt like it was going to be a great way to end the story. Then the show opens it up for another season and leaves us on a mouth-watering cliffhanger. I'm so ready for a 4th part, and as long as Diop is a character portrayed by Omar Sy, I'm there. The mystery is fun, even though some actions are predictable, with the repetition of the sequence of events that make up a heist being similar each time and then removing surprise. The ploy and the scenarios are typically intriguing and exciting to watch play out. The theme of family is richly engaging, drawing on many different familial ties to create emotional depth and challenges while also delving into the histories that shaped the characters, touching on heartbreaking moments that inspired their future trajectories. The only time the pace suffers is during caper explanations. Otherwise, it excels at producing a fast paced, twisty action mystery. I enjoyed how personal this narrative got, using unique pain points for the characters to cause conflict and dictate actions. And while the cliffhanger ending could be annoying because we'll have to wait another year or so for the next segment, the story looks to be patiently and meticulously planned to create devastation for the op. There's no sexual nudity, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give Lupin Part 3 4.5 out of 5 couches. So are you a fan of this series? Who's your favorite character? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.